Good afternoon and welcome to the Romanian strand of the IETM multi-location plenary meeting 2020. For a start, you should know that by attending the meeting, participants acknowledge that the online content will be recorded. IETM may use the recording on their social media channels, website, newsletters, or other channels. Moreover, this session is being live streamed on Facebook as we speak. I am Marina Hanganu, Theatre Directress and Artistic Secretary of George Ciprian Theatre in Buzău. I am actually on stage right now and in the auditorium. Please switch the camera. You can see my colleagues. We are all thrilled to be co-organizers of this special event, which connects over 20 locations across various continents. We thank the IETM International Network for Contemporary Performing Arts for making us part of this ambitious and timely event. We also thank our guests for joining us from different parts of the world. Even if they could not be here in person, our speakers have joined us virtually. The session will be opened by Constantin Vică, Assistant Professor at the Faculty of Philosophy and Researcher at the Research Center in Applied Ethics, University of Bucharest. Secondly, I will present our theatre's new Creative Europe project with the participation of our partners from Spain and Italy. Thirdly, Theatre Director Radu Apostol and playwright and theatre critic Mihaela Mihailov will present the activities of the Replica Center in Bucharest. The discussion will be closed by Bianca Floarea from the Creative Europe Desk Romania, who will talk about the future of the Creative Europe program. In the end, you will be able to ask questions of all the speakers during a Q&A panel. The core question posed by the IETM plenary is, what matters now? The Romanian session proposes an extension of what matters in the theatre, doubled by an extension of what matters in the world at large. This is reflected by both the way we choose to do theatre and the way we correlate it to society and its needs. The entanglement between the artistic and the social is even more needed now in the COVID-19 era, which has emphasized our interdependence so dramatically. The presentations to follow will bring about the importance of experimentation via artistic research, the importance of socially aware performance making, and the benefits of internationalization and cooperation across borders. Above all, one way to move forward right now may well be the embrace of post-humanist tenets in society and the arts, and the extension of what it means to be human. On this note, the first presentation, Roboethics for Posthumans, will tackle the larger context relevant for our new EU project, Teleencounters Beyond the Human. I will now give the word to Constantin Vică, who will also be part of our project team.
Okay, thank you very much, Marina. Thank you for having me today. As you can see, I really wanted to be embedded into my topic, into my subject. So please look at this like part of, I don't know, artificial experiment or part of an artificial mind. Okay, because we have only 20 minutes at our disposal, let me start with the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, the idea, it's pretty simple. Actually, now we're living in a world where technologies, they are weaving themselves into the fabric of everyday life. So it is harder and harder to distinguish technology from life or from nature and so on. More than this, if you look at the Sherry Tarkle idea that actually technologies can really change ourselves, change our awareness of ourselves and of other people, and of course the relationship we have with the world itself. And last but not least, the McLuhan quote, which is well known. Actually, new media are not only bridges between man and nature, they are more than this, they are the nature itself. So what is technological mediation? There are at least 4 relationships of mediation, technological mediation. The first one is the embodiment relation. Why? Because technologies become extensions of our senses and they mediate our perception of the world. More than this, we have another relation, the hermeneutic one, because we are prone and we are forced to interpret different technological results, measurement, signals, and so on. For example, different images or different buttons we have on our screen and so on. There is also an authority relation because we directly interact with technologies, not only with ATMs, but also with robots, for example. But the most important one, I think, is this one, the background relation, because technologies, they became the context for our experiences today. Okay. Our technologies are not any kind of technology. They are cognitive language-based technologies. And we are at the end of a very long history, more than 2000 years, historical years, when we switched from scribal to literate culture, then from literate to typographic, the printing press, and now we're living an algorithmic civilization, we can call it. Of course, algorithms are also implemented with cognitive language-based technologies like any programming language or any markup language and so on. So in less than 2000 years, 2500 years, we moved from the scribal culture to an algorithmic civilization. Okay, what we have today is called artificial intelligence, but I think it's better to call it machine learning because not everything is intelligent in machine learning. What they produce in artificial intelligence domains actually is a kind of mindless knowledge. It is knowledge, but without a knowledgeable subject, without a mind. How was this possible? Pretty simple. In the last 20 years of web colonization and extraction of data, everything was extracted somehow from our minds, from our actions, from other people's actions, and everybody who is connected in a network, in a digital network, of course, today, with our data, with our documents, we are actually what we call the germline of artificial intelligence. Of course, we are not the authors of artificial intelligence, but the genes, if you want, the informational genes are represented by us, by our actions, by our data, and so on. So from this point of view, we can consider artificial intelligence as a human science. It is not a formal science. It is not mathematics. It is not chemistry. It's actually a human science because everything in artificial intelligence is about the human mind and human action, and it is based on human thoughts and human actions. Okay, now 2020, 2020, it is the mirabilis year of the post-human era. What we witness today is not something new, it's more like an acceleration of change. This change started 30 years ago. It is composed, if you want to, by what we call online migration, datafication, and algorithmization of life. And through this, digital technologies like Zoom, for example, or if you want Google or Apple Pay, or I don't know, your email, your Facebook account, and so on. Of course, artificial intelligence is part of this. Digital technologies, they take on the classic role of institutions in our lives. So we have some examples. For example, instead of using money, fiat money, we can use Google or Apple Pay. Instead of using our memory, we can use Google or any kind of web search engine as a transitive memory. And our emails, our Facebook accounts, or Twitter accounts, or Instant accounts, they became our personal archives. Okay, let's go to the theoretical part. Posthuman is not just one category. Actually, it's like an umbrella of many, many categories. That's why I think that the posthuman means many posthumans. And because we have many conceptual versions, let me present the three most important of them. In the first version, posthuman can be understood as reconceiving the human, because there is no universal human nature, there is not an autonomous human nature, there is no split between mind and body, as René Descartes was believing 500 years ago. Actually, being posthuman is accepting, or by being posthuman, we should accept a kind of disunity, the fact that we are imperfect, and there is a heterogeneity of beings. So the perspective is totally opposite to the Enlightenment perspective. We are living in a fluid change, continuous fluid change, and the emergence of new identities, of plural identities, is more important than having one identity. So this is one version, the most philosophical one. There is another version, overcoming the human, and here we have the image of the cyborg, because there is no salient line between humans and robots, and I can show you some cyborgs right now. The cyborg is a good model for the future, but I will insist on the third version of post-humanism if you want. Actually, the idea that we are living in a more than a human life world. Okay, for this, what do I mean by more than human life world? And I have some verses by a very good poet, a beat poet called Richard Brautigan, some verses from 1967. And he was writing something like this: I like to think, and the sooner the better, of a cybernetic meadow, where mammals and computers live together in mutually programming harmony, so on and so forth. And the poem ends with this verse: everybody will be watched over by machines of loving grace. Of course, this is a very nice idea, but we are not very sure that these machines will be of loving grace for us. But this convergence of computing, of information, of datafication, of algorithmization, it is actually the convergence between artificial and natural kinds. And that's why our life world now is technological. This shift can be seen on 4 properties or features, if you want. Technologies, first of all, they are transformative. Since, I don't know, fire, since the printing press, technologies, they transform humanity. They are pervasive now, but even from the beginning, the first cognitive language-based technologies, reading and writing, there were the first technologies, and they are pervasive and invisible somehow. Also, technologies, they are generative. They are open to changes and to updates and so on. And more than this, they are effective, more effective than humans. So if we have this kind of technological life world, the question now will be one about agency. What kind of agency we still have? We still have agency. It is still an exclusive feature of our technological life world, the human feature of our world. I don't believe so. And my proposal is to see agency more like being relational and shared between humans and different artifacts. For example, the software I use now, or the Zoom we're using together, and so on. But in the case of robots and artificial intelligence, because we have this kind of alternative relationship with them, I think we really have to accept that we share agency, or at least in the near future, gonna share agency with them. Many actions are made possible, or are delegated, or are guided by artifacts. Because artifacts, they have plans. Some of us can say that artifacts are able or capable of politics, if you want to. They are somehow intentional. They are intentional like the sunflower or like animals. They don't have the human intentionality, but they still are intentional. We have at least 2 cases of intentionality, 2 instances when they exhibit agency. The first one when we mixed with them and we are effective with them. And the second one when we embed human agency in artifacts. And robots will be this new kind of human agency embedded in artifacts. This view of a unique or a single category of agents, rational human beings, is at odds with our technological life world. And that's why perhaps the challenge, not only for philosophers or sociologists or psychologists, but also for artists and for everybody else, is to deal with this new way of sharing agency with artifacts. Okay. I prefer to see artificial intelligence systems and robots more like extensions and enhancers of humans, not as replacers. Why? Because they are, or they're gonna be the new mediators of our reality. So if this will be true or is true, the question will, or the questions will be twofold. The first one is the question of control. How to control these cognitive intellectual technologies around us. They generate an environment of ambient intelligence, and they started to alter our human behavior. So the first question is the question about control, but there is another question, the question of moral status. Because if we can train intelligence in silico, so artificial intelligence, and intelligence is one criteria for granting moral status, then we should grant moral status to robots and AI systems. Of course, not moral status which is an equivalent of our moral status, but something close to or somewhere nearby our moral status. If we are not gonna answer to this question and action correspondingly or accordingly to our answers, we'll have two risks or threats. The first one is the risk of algocracy. Algocracy is not about robots or artificial intelligence, it's about humans who are able to control artificial intelligence, humans who are able to control big amounts of data, like, I don't know, people from Google or Facebook, or even people from Zoom. And the counterpart, okay, let's say we can manage the problem of control, but the problem of social Darwinism, which is a big issue for humans, will be a big issue also for artificial beings. We can select in a very fascist way, if you want, what kind of artificial being to survive and what kind of artificial being to be, I don't know, end of, and so on. I really like this quote from George Dyson. He says something like this: we have the game of life and everybody is within the game of life. And here, within this game of life, there are three players: us, human beings, nature itself, and machines. Of course, we are on the side of nature, but nature, I suspect, says George Dyson, is on the side of the machines. So we have to take care about this alliance that it can be possible, at least conceptually, between nature and artificial machines, because the difference between organism and mechanism is not so big. So the final question is this one: what kind of robotics would you like in the near future? And I'm going to present three human-robot relationship approaches, and for the Q&A session, we can discuss them. So the first approach is the anthropocentric one. There are no soft or hard rights. Robots are not persons, hence they do not deserve human-specific rights. But this still keeps open the question about their moral status. From this perspective, machines or artificial intelligence, robots, even the very smart ones, they are mere tools. There is the opposite, if you want, perspective, the robocentric perspective, which goes against human paternalism in this case. So what robocentric people could say or should say: let the robots claim their own rights and moral progress. Why? Because we should accept the possibility of different minds, which can be seen as post-persons or pre-persons, if you want to. So because we can accept the existence of other human minds, which are pretty similar to us, so we accept the possibility of different minds. Why not to accept the possibility of different artificial minds or alien minds, or I don't know, very rational minds, which or who are not embodied yet? like different examples we have in Star Trek. Yes, I know I'm a trekker. In Star Trek, for example, there is a character called Q, and Q is pure mind. It's like the pure spirit at Hegel. Of course, beyond the anthropocentric and robocentric perspective, there is also the relational perspective, which is a product of social ecology. From this perspective, no longer matters who is the agent and who is not the agent, who is the patient, who has consciousness or intentionality and who does not. What is important is the relationship between elements, different elements of one environment. It's like on the stage. Robots and humans are no longer viewed atomistically, like pure atoms, totally different in nature. They are relational entities whose identity depends on the relationship with others. In Bruno Latour's words, the world actually is a collective hybrid ensemble of human and non-human entities. And this is also my position, but we can discuss more about this during the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Constantin Vika. What an inspiring presentation. Now we will move on to teleencounters beyond the human. And speaking of loving entities that are not human, let me share my screen and let me introduce you to Future Shock. Let's see, just a moment, because you should hear the sound as well.
Can you all hear me? Please answer via chat on Zoom.
Please answer via chat. Ce au zis, aud? Aud?
Yes. Zice yes. Yes.
So you couldn't hear anything, right? Okay, excellent. We did some technical tests before and everything worked perfectly fine. Anyway, so I'm going to move on to the human presentation. I had a small chatbot with artificial intelligence that I wanted you to meet, but unfortunately, you couldn't hear her. Okay. So, Teleencounters Beyond the Human is a project co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. Okay, it is part of the Small Strand Cooperation Projects. It has a duration of 3 years. The project has just started and it will finish in 2023. The project is led by the George Ciprian Theatre in Buzău, Romania, and it is co-funded by the Buzău County Council. In partnership with UCAM, Universidad Católica San Antonio de Murcia in Spain, and Industria Scenica in Italy. Actually, the project team is here with us today. So you can see project manager Gina Chivulescu and financial manager Cristiana Ilea in the audience. if the camera will switch. Okay, and we have with us project manager Professor Isabel Sarabia from UCAM, management expert Andres Abad from UCAM, project manager Isnaba Miranda from Industria Scenica Italy, and Hermano Nardi from Industria Scenica, artistic director. So we're very happy to have them with us. Okay, so the current project is based on Teleencounters, the first European project we coordinated. It ended successfully in 2019. It was led by us again, and it focused on migration, on the relationship between left behind children in Romania and Portugal and their parents in Spain. And we did this via an artistic exploration of telematics and VR films. But what we're going to do now, building on the first project, is explore relationships in transnational families between elderly parents left behind and their grandchildren and children who live in a different country. And you can see the statistics are quite high. The number of migrants in the world is around 4 million. And only in Italy, we have over 1 million migrants. This migration, this mass migration, has downsides also related to the loneliness of the people who are left behind. So you can see the percentage of elderly people who lived alone in all our countries, and part of the problem in Romania may well be the fact that elderly people are left behind by their families who migrate. And this is a more science fiction scenario, but not quite. The idea that social robots might be able in the near future to provide a solution or not to the question of providing care. This has ethical implications. The project objectives are correlated to 3 main priorities of the EU, and those are capacity building, digitization, transnational mobility, and audience development. And we're going to explore the integration of telematics, of robots and artificial intelligence in theater and interactive visual arts, and also explore how we can involve the audience in the creation process. The theme of roboethics and caregiving in transnational families is actually the transversal objective of the project. And we're going to explore this sociologically. The methodology that we're going to use is artistic research, which is an umbrella concept with many variations. What's important is that practice as research is a method that combines practical exploration, theoretical exploration, and critical inquiry into both theory and practice. And we're going to do this by exploring the integration of robots and telepresence in the theater and the interaction between humans and AI. What I tried to do first, but it didn't work. Arts-based research is a method of combining art and social sciences. So the outputs of this research will also feed into the social sciences, not only into art. So we're going to do audience workshops for robot development and test human-robot relationships. The target groups, because it's a research project, are also specialists, but young people and seniors are the core target group of the project, and migrants in Italy and not only. We have many work packages, but I'm just going to insist on the main ones. So for a start, and this is something we've started doing. Okay, we can only see the first slide. No. Can you see my slide? Because someone told me that it's a problem. Okay. Good, I'm going to continue. So we're going to take 20 interviews with migrants and left behind elderly people in Romania. And these interviews are going to be analyzed by project sociologist Mircea Chivu, who is here with us today, in an academic study. And the interviews will also feed into an online collection of interviews. The next The next work package is the robot development side of the project. So we're going to organize workshops in all 3 countries for children and for seniors. Why children? Because they're the most likely to benefit or not from the advancement in robotics. So the purpose of these projects, of these workshops, will be to imagine robot companions for the elderly. So in each country, we will develop at least 2 analog robot models per country. And the team will be interdisciplinary. We'll focus on a robotics module in which we're going to build the robot's behavior and its code of ethics, a theater module, the robot's personality and its potential response to life situations, a robotics module for its functionality, and also think of its design. So what should a robot be like? How should it behave so as to be accepted in the family? So this is a timeline. The important thing is that the audience's reaction will be analyzed in a study, which will be published in English by UCAM. Then the robot models created in analog form will be digitalized by the 3D animation artists with the help of technologists. And these robot models will be put on an online platform that will be available in 4 languages. It will be like a bestiary for social robots, which will also include the archive of the analog models created by audiences. And these models, the virtual ones, will have an emotional chatbot with an individualized personality, so users will be able to interact with it. That's what I tried to do at the beginning, to interact with such a bot, with a personality. And the audience's reaction to this platform, which we're going to present in offline circumstances as well, and also online, will feed into an academic study about how people can interact with AI in art. A very important set of packages concerns the creation of a telematic theater performance, which will take place between Romania and Italy. Telematic theater, you should know, that connects bidirectionally at least 2 spaces via the internet. And it should not be confused with live streaming because this one is unidirectional. So just imagine that there will be an audience and actors on stage in both Romania and Italy. We did this in the first project, but between Romania and UCAM in Spain. So the story will focus on the relationship between a left behind mother, her robot companion, and her migrant daughter in Italy, and her mixed ethnic family. So if you're wondering whether we're going to build a robot, the answer is yes, we are going to build a robot, but it will not have artificial intelligence, unfortunately. It will be just a puppet. And the robot will be built based on what the audience imagined. So the robot models will actually be converted into a real robot, except for its functionality, which needs to be established from the start because we have a limited budget and limited time. But its appearance and its personality will be established by the audience. So the play will be bilingual in Romanian and in Italian. And the technological development will go hand in hand with the writing of the play and the creation of the concept. Rehearsals will take place mostly online. So even if we will meet for 1 week in one single space in Buzău, the rest of the rehearsals will be online, rehearsing from different spaces around the world, and not because of COVID. The audience's reaction will be analyzed via questionnaires that audiences in both countries will receive, and these will be published in a study. In the dissemination phase, we will organize workshops for students in Romania and in Italy who will explore together scenes from the play. In one workshop, the robot control will be in Romania. In the other workshop, the robot control will be in Italy. So students from Italy will be able to manipulate the robot in Romania. The dissemination of results will be via a book, most of all. So all the studies that we will create during the project will be published in a book. This will be launched during an international symposium in Romania in 2023 and during dissemination conferences in Spain and in Italy. The main outcomes that we expect are increased competencies for artists, for technologists, for technicians, the interdisciplinary skill transfer between them, increased public awareness of the impact of technology on human relationships, and the increased quality of the artistic process and product by incorporating the public's creative input. I would like to thank the Creative Europe desk in Romania, who are here with us today, Claudia Romanescu, Bianca Floarea, and Sorin Enuș, for helping us with the application process. I think they are the best, and we love them a lot, and thank you. Now, a few words from our partners from UCAM, Spain, please. Professor Sarabia.
Hello. We are very glad to participate in this project, very interesting project. And we hope all our work is going to be good for you and to share among all the participants.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marina.
Sorry, technical issues. Thank you very much, Professor Sarabia. Andres, would you like to say something?
No, because basically, as you know, my main role is facilitating the process between the project actors or the main characters involved in the project and the rest of the partners. So I'm here just to support the project manager, Professor Sarabia. But thank you very much. We hope that with the experience that we have shared in the previous successful project Talent Encounters, it will be an added value for the new chapter in this new adventure that we are starting right now.
Thank you very much. Industria Scenica from Italy, Isnaba, would you like to say a few words? And I will open your PDF.
Thank you. Thank you, Marina. Hello, everyone. And thank you all for this opportunity. And thank you, Marina, for the clear explanation you gave from the project. So I will explain you a little bit in a few minutes, and I hope to be as concise as possible, our role in the project. So we are Industria Scenica. I'm Isnaba Miranda, and I'm representing Industria Scenica here with my colleague Ermanno Nardi. Industria Scenica is a creative and non-profit enterprise based in Vimodrone. So Vimodrone is near to Milan in Italy, obviously. So what do? We regenerate diseased space to strengthen cultural identity of specific territories. We make theatre performances. We promote cultural production as a shared responsibility for citizens and communities. We activate co-creation and participatory processes and activities in rural areas for the community and citizenship. And about this, I would like, Marina, if I have 1 minute to share, could you please? Okay, because we have a small video to share with you, but maybe in another time. Okay, sorry. In citizen, yes, if it is possible, thank you. I think with Zoom it will be a problem with the sound, but if you have...
You can speak over it because the sound has some problems.
Yes, exactly. With Zoom it's always a problem with the video. Maybe in time we'll understand better how it works. So we are now seeing a video. Did you... Okay, it's not going. It's not working.
You're not seeing it?
Not yet? No, anyway, it's no problem. I will send you in another moment. It's a video that tells a little bit more about Industria Scenica and the work we do mostly with the communities. So, sorry, just a second, because I'm in the other presentation. Okay, here we are.
You can.
Oh, you now see it?
Yeah.
Are you seeing the video? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. because most of all, we involve all our publics in our audiences in the projectation and in the project itself. So in fact, our role in Tele-Encounters will, besides the discussion and research about the project issues and actions, and obviously the organization of workshop, the audience workshops, the production of a telematic theatre play, and obviously the dissemination of the results and the format, our role regards the involvement and the engagement of the communities, the several communities we work with. So we normally work with elder, with children, with schools, and everything. So, okay. Okay, you can also take the video if you want. Thank you, Marina. Next slide. And also, okay, the expectations. So concerning the project, we hope to exchange good experiences and know-how with the other cultural and research organizations. And we really hope to establish positive and productive cooperative relationships in a European perspective.
Thank you very much, Naba.
Okay, thank you.
Just a few moments, because I also have a PDF from UCAM, and we have 4 minutes left, isn't it? 4 minutes. Okay. So about UCAM, because their sound is not very good, they are a big university, you see, lots of students, lots of official degrees, and lots of European projects on many areas in many fields. And this is the project team. And their involvement will be in the research side, but also in the creation of the interactive platform with robots. So they will offer the technical expertise to actually build this online platform. So we're very happy to cooperate again with UCAM. They were our partners in the other project as well, and we're very happy to have Industria Scenica with us because their community involvement is great in Italy, and I think we can learn a lot from their strategies of audience engagement. So thank you very much for being our partners, and thank you all for attending our presentation. Now we will move on to Replica Center, to Radu Apostol and Mihaela Mihailov, who are representatives of Replica Center in Bucharest.
Hello to all. First of all, thank you, Mara, and thank to Ciprian Theater from George Ciprian from Buzău for this invitation. We take this opportunity in order to present ourselves, since I presume that we are the only very small entity in this beautiful, interesting meeting. We are an independent theater. We represent an independent theater company from Bucharest, Romania. And we are 7 associated artists that are doing everything from, as we present ourselves, we do everything from cleaning the toilet and the theater, and or writing the project, whether they are European projects or local projects. Our expertise is in the field of performing arts, and we developed projects involving professional and non-professional. We started with on the methodology of educational theater, and we developed projects that involved children alongside artists, professional artists on stage, and workshops in high school and schools. And we also have a small experience in European projects. So far, we are very pleased to be partners in Creative Europe project, which was generated by the main applicant from Wrocław, from Poland, the Centrum Culturii from Wrocław, Poland, together with another partner from Spain, IDEA Asociación Cultural from Spain, and we as Replica from Bucharest. we were very impressed by the other presentations, and we somehow we understood that our connection to the digital is not that good, as you may see, because we have this very bad connection. Maybe, I don't know. But as everybody else since March this year, we decided also to change our activities and to move them online and to try to do some hybrid cultural products that involve both online and offline versions of our works. And with your permission, I will invite Mihaela Mihailov to speak a little bit more about ourselves, because I don't want to. Okay, I will close my microphone.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm glad to be here in the context. Thank you for the presentations. So as Ra said, we are an independent entity in Bucharest. I would say socially engaged entity doing a lot of activities, not only in the theater, but also in different districts in Bucharest and also all around the country. What we have done from the very beginning and what we proposed was to create, let's say, a theater for different vulnerable categories, and the kind of theater offering to these categories the possibility to represent themselves and to have a voice and to talk about the issues that they consider important. And we tried to apply to various funds and grants in order to sustain ourselves, because it's quite difficult for an independent space to be able to sustain itself in Romania. As Radu said, we succeeded in having different partnerships with local entities, but also European entities, trying to develop a kind of theater that answers, let's say, to vulnerable issues and to problematic issues, and trying to cover them, of course, in a performative way. We are in the beginning, let's say, with different projects, trying to put together performative issues and performative strategies together with technologies. We have been developing, we have been writing a project that we hope will obtain a grant in order to develop different kind of, let's say, hybrid performances, encompassing various technological and also performative strategies, and trying in a way to innovate the theater language. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think you're one of the most socially involved theater companies in Romania, and I, for one, appreciate your work a lot. And I think it's great that you also give it a European dimension. So congratulations for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Marina.
Now we will move on. If Radu Apostol doesn't want to add anything, say it, Radu, if you want to add anything. We will move on to Bianca Floarea from the Creative Europe desk in Romania. Bianca Floarea, you have the Zoom window.
Thank you, Marina. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy to be part of this meeting, and I would like to start by congratulating the two teams of the two Creative Europe projects, the Telencounters team and Replicas Cooperation Project and their team. I know from my direct experience how difficult it is to win a project in Creative Europe or to be a partner in a Creative Europe project. That's why I would really like to to say that I really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope the projects will be as sustainable as possible. Okay, my presentation for today, before I start sharing the screen. Can you see my screen? Just 1 second. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
You can. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. Okay, at the moment, as you might know, Creative Europe is not adopted yet as a program at European level. The European institutions, the Parliament, the Council, and the European Commission are still negotiating its final form, and it will most probably be adopted as early as possible this year. Consequently, my presentation is not about the very final details of Creative Europe. It's rather about those general parts which are at the moment more stable, like the objectives and the priorities and the kind of actions that will be funded. I also included some recommendations for potential applicants in the future. And for more precise details, I think we'll have to wait for the end of the year to see how the regulation of the program looks like. And but of course, I'm open to the questions that you might have at the end. Okay, Creative Europe is a European program, so it is a program managed by the European Commission, and it has two main directions, one for culture organizations and one for media audiovisual organizations. My presentation today is focused on what the culture sub-program, the culture strand of the program funds and will fund in the future. So let's see what the program will support. It will have the same main strands as in the present. So there's a culture strand, as I said, for all the cultural spectrum, all the organizations from visual arts to heritage, which you will see all the sectors in a few slides. Then there's a strand for operators in the audiovisual and multimedia industry to work together. And there's also a cross-sectoral strand which tries to bridge culture and media in joint projects. This cross-sectoral strand is also open for cultural organizations. That's why I will just very briefly mention that it will focus on promoting innovative approaches to content creation, access, distribution, and promotion in the sector. There will be a big emphasis on the use of innovative technology, and there will be a pilot action for creative innovation hubs. Okay, because I mentioned the cultural and creative sectors, these are the sectors that the program will fund. So from performing arts, theater, dance, music, to visual arts, creative writing, literature, the publishing industry, to cultural heritage, architecture, design and fashion design, crafts, radio. These are the sectors which the culture sub-program covers. The next ones, like cinema, the film industry, television, video games, and multimedia, are covered by the media sub-program. So we will not be covering this in this session. What will the culture sub-program finance in the future? The approach will be a bit different than in the current Creative Europe program, which ends this year in 2020, meaning that we will have two types of actions: horizontal actions, which will be for all cultural and creative fields to address common challenges, and it will mainly, the focus will be on transnational projects, so projects bringing together organizations from several countries to collaborate, to network, to organize mobilities. And we will also have some sectoral actions, which you will see in the next slide, which are for precise fields in the wider cultural sector. So let's see which are the horizontal actions. We will continue to have cooperation projects, which covers the biggest amount of the budget from the culture sub-program. It used to do that, and it will continue to do that. So it is for more organizations, cultural organizations from at least 3 countries to work together to create performances or exhibitions or trainings or conferences, basically to cooperate and work together. In the current program, we have small cooperation projects, which means at least 3 countries involved, and bigger cooperation projects, at least 6 countries involved. We will most probably have the same framework in the next program as well. Another horizontal action will be European networks. As we are in the framework of the IETM meeting, I would just like to point out that IETM is one of the networks which is funded by Creative Europe. So it is basically a consortium, let's say, a formalized consortium of organizations from very many countries, which represent the sector in a particular field, like performing arts, or it can be cultural heritage, or it can be music, let's say. Furthermore, the program will fund pan-European platforms. These are, let's say, sort of very big cooperation projects, but they are not formalized like the networks. And those platforms will promote artists, especially artists in the beginning of their careers, emerging artists from all across the sectors. Another important strand of the culture program will be the mobility of artists and cultural operators. As you might know, or if not, I will tell you now. There was a pilot action in the current program, which is called Iportunus, which funded the mobility of individual artists to meet their colleagues in another country, to have a production together, to learn to basically create new things and new products, new works together. This pilot was very successful, and it will be mainstreamed and will be made more stable in the future program, which is a good thing because all the other strands, funding strands of the cultural program are for organizations, but this will be for artists, individual artists as well. So the program opens up a bit more. Another direction will be for organizations which operate at international level, including the support will go including in terms of capacity building. So for them to have to invest in their expertise and competencies and their ability to be more ready to work across borders with organizations from other countries. Last but not least, maybe this is not so appealing to you, but it's good to know that the program is also interested in policy development, meaning the collection and provision of data, exchange of experiences, of practices between countries, so that the policies, the public policies in culture are well fundamented and they are also comparable to some extent. Okay, so those were the horizontal actions. So they are open for all cultural and creative sectors except audiovisual, as I mentioned in the beginning, which has a separate program. But these ones are more in-depth actions. Well, the philosophy was that there are certain sectors which are probably more mature in terms of competitiveness of their industry at European level. They are maybe a bit more organized. That was one of the reasons why the European Commission decided to put forward sectoral actions, which can address very specific themes in those sectors. So, for instance, we will have a sectoral action just for music. In the current program, we had a pilot action which was called Music Moves Europe, which funded actions like training, mobilities, the export of music. These piloted actions will continue from 2020 onwards for the next 7 years. They will continue to fund data gathering, analysis of the music sector, distribution of European repertoire, so the export of music, and training and audience development. Another industry will be the book and publishing industry. The translation and promotion of European literature will be promoted. The training and exchanges between sector professionals like authors and translators, and also transnational collaboration projects in this industry will be encouraged. Last but not least, a very well-defined sector will be architecture and cultural heritage. They will invest in mobility in this sector, capacity building, audience development, the support of conservation and the preservation of heritage. And the good news is that this list is still open in a way, because the proposal for a future regulation of Creative Europe also mentions the fact that the funding will go to other sectors until the end of the program, so until 2027. Such as design or cultural tourism, but the list is not final yet. So other sectors which might be developed more along the way or might need the targeted action will be able to participate. Okay. In terms of the cultural priorities of this trend. So I chose not to give you exact phrasings of the priorities or not even yet the objectives, because as I said, we are still on fluid ground, if I can combine these words, as the program is not yet adopted at European level. But we do know there is some stability when it comes to those priorities and those keywords. So those priorities, I cannot at the moment tell you if they relate to cooperation projects or to networks or to platforms. They are for all the cultural actions that will be funded. We will know for sure in more precise details what each type of action will have as priorities once we have the technical guidelines. So basically the Bible of a call. So when a call is launched for you to submit a proposal, you have a guide attached to it. That's the place where all these things will be much more detailed. So at the moment, these are the broad priorities for the culture strand. Transnational cooperation, so basically cooperation across borders between organizations working in the cultural field. Also, the cross-border dimension of creation of works, products, or services in the arts field is important. The circulation and visibility of European works and the mobility of artists and other cultural professionals. Secondly, cultural participation, the idea of encouraging more people to participate, to be active in culture, and a very important priority of audience development, which has both a quantitative dimension to enlarge the number of audience that you reach with your project, but also to work differently with your existing audience, to be more, to engage with it more and try to be more interactive from this point of view. Another important priority will be the social dimension of culture, so societal resilience, social inclusion through culture, intercultural dialogue through arts and culture. Moving on, investing in supporting talent, artistic talent in all across Europe, supporting the development of innovation and creation of jobs and growth. These last words are important because we need to be more, to have more hard data when it comes to culture, because culture does have very direct impact in terms of, in economic terms as well. So we need to capture this, this potential as well. Also an educational dimension of culture, like cultural awareness, arts education, culture-based creativity in education will be important. Another priority will be capacity building for cultural and creative sectors to operate at international level. So as I said, the focus on training, on professionalization, on expertise, know-how and skills. And last but not least, a culture will have a more and more role in cultural diplomacy, in international relations. So this will be embedded in EU's global strategy for international relations. I would just like to focus a bit on this mobility issue, because it's fairly easy to reach, to take the priority of mobility. when you are doing a European project, a cross-border project, because you obviously have people moving from one country to another to meet for the project, for meetings, for conferences, for productions, and so on. It's important just to remind yourself all the time that it's not mobility for mobility's sake. There has to be a concrete and a very precise result that you invest in when you collaborate with people from other countries. For instance, you can have the objective to improve the professional skills, to exchange ideas, peer learning, to invest in education of professionals and artists in the field. Artists to create, to produce something new, so artistic creation or production as an end of mobility, to develop new career opportunities, to be able to work in other countries and with other people and develop your career at international level. Another idea would be to reach new audiences in other countries with your productions, services, events, and so on. Also to extend the lifespan of a tour, of a performance, or an exhibition in this way, and to increase consumer choice or access. These are just some ideas to food for thought. Also a bit just to orientate you in this Creative Europe who is who field. The program is managed by, run by the European Commission and its executive agency for education, culture, and audiovisual. European Commission is the one who sets the broad policy lines and sets the priorities, the wider policy overview. The executive agency is the one who actually implements in practical terms the program. That means that's where you are sending your applications. Applications are not evaluated or received at national level in Romania, Spain, or Poland. They are sent to Brussels, to the executive agency. They are evaluated by experts there. And we, as Creative Europe desks, like we are in Romania, we are just your partner. We are supporting you to design the project as much as possible, to find partners, to have a very good application. So we are your partners. We don't receive the applications, but we can help you improve it. I'm not going to go through this history of the future. This is just to remind you that I chose not to give you to present ideas about the future, the calendar of the next calls, simply because we don't know them yet. As I mentioned before, the program is still being negotiated at European level, which means that everybody's doing the best they can to launch the calls for the sector as soon as possible. But sometimes when there are so many countries involved in the EU which negotiate the program, it takes some time. But I think that I would just like to say this can be a very positive side because the program is basically seen by many experts, and it goes through several phases of negotiation, which ensures that it will be the best possible program. A European program starts like 3 or 4, maybe even 4 months before. It starts with an open consultation of the sector. Then it goes through the Commission proposing a regulation. Then all the other EU institutions have to be consulted, like your Committee of Regions, then the Council of the European Union. Then this has to be negotiated with the European Parliament. So as you can see, this is just to ask for your patience a bit more and to give you an overview of what it takes to negotiate a European program with so many actors involved. Okay, last but not least, just to give you some ideas of the results. So very many since 2014, since the current program started. So these are some results about what happened so far. More than 530 cooperation projects were funded, connecting more than 3,000 organizations. There were 28 networks financed from 2017 to 2014, like IETM is, for instance. And there are 20 platforms which promote artists across Europe that received funding. And you can see some data there, some numbers of how many exhibitions and how many emerging artists benefited from the funding. Just a snapshot of of the performing arts, because we are within the IETM context. Well, performing arts were covered many of the projects that got selected. So more than half of all the selected culture projects from 2014 until now are from performing arts, mainly from music and theater. The next field is cultural heritage, with around 15%. So it's important to put things in perspective a bit. Okay, I will quickly end with some recommendations for future applicants. I cannot emphasize this enough. Start on time, because there's a huge competition for Creative Europe, and it involves many actors from organizations from several countries, and it's important to start at least 4 months before the deadline. So even now, when we don't know the deadline for the call has not been launched, so you don't have a deadline, but it's important to use the priorities which I presented to you and start negotiating with your partners for a future application. But also, just think if you're able to be a leader already, or maybe have a partner role in the beginning, and then in the next year you can start applying as leader. Depends on the expertise that you have, if you have worked with external partners or not. Also good to look at your organizations. I always advise applicants to have well, to link the mission, the vision, and the objectives of their own organizations to the project idea. Do not get involved in a project when you are proposed to be a partner just because there's money involved. It has to make sense for your organization and what you are doing. It has to be linked to your projects, to your previous program, and the look to the future, where you want to head. Also look at similar projects. You have, there's information in the program dissemination platform, like a database of selected projects where you can see what got funded, also look at some studies or if the policy context around the theme that you suggest. Always look at the funding objectives and priorities. This is European funding for, the idea is to have a project with a European added value. So there are not projects which cover national necessities or for organizations who want to work at local or national level only. It's for organizations who want to work together and have a given European wider dimension to their projects. It's important to build an open and complementary partnership. So try to integrate partners in the discussion of the idea from the very beginning. Don't come with your own idea, put it on the table and take it or leave it. They have to be, partners have to be integrated to feel that they have ownership of the project. And also think of how complementary you need the partnership to be so that you are more successful. Maybe you don't have to work with 5 theaters in our projects, like Marina's project, like Teleencounters is. They involve the organizations from different kind of fields, as you could see, universities, organizations, NGOs, theaters. It's very important to think of who brings what to the partnership. Also be precise, convincing in your application. It's not enough if you have a good idea, if it's not well described. And last but not least, ask for feedback from the Creative Europe desks in your countries, from Romania or from elsewhere. We are in 41 countries, not just in Europe. And I think we are very good partners in helping you, giving you feedback on what you have to improve in your applications. These are just very briefly some contact details if you need to get in touch with me, or if you need to access the web page of Creative Europe or the database with project results. I'm here for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bianca, and not only for this presentation, for all the work you're doing in Romania, and you've helped us a lot always. Now, I think it's time for the Q&A. So if you have questions, please raise your hand in the participants box, and I will see you and give you the word. Or if you want to ask questions via chat, you can do that as well, and I will read your questions aloud. So for any of the speakers. I would have a question to Constantin Vică about the ethics of potentially sending the project results to robotics companies. What do you think about that? If we analyze the data we take from audiences in workshops, my intention was initially to send it to robotics companies so that they see what people would like or would not like. But I'm thinking that this might be used commercially, so this is not what I want. So what's your opinion on this idea?
It depends on what kind of agreement you as an institution you can make with a company. It is possible sometimes to be good to do something like this, to share data and to I don't know, to create a background not only for arts or humanities but also for business. But in this case, I think only if the company wants to develop an open source robot or an open source platform. In this case, yes, I think there is no problem. If they want to use your data or the project's data in a very proprietary way, I don't think it's part of the deal. Of course, if the subjects from the focus groups, they are aware about this and they agree with this kind of data sharing, it is also a possibility to do it. But you know, companies, they really have big budgets to do this kind of research, to do this experience design research. But if a company wants, after the after the project ends, wants to develop more into this, but do not share for free. There is nothing free in this world. If they want to create a platform for everybody, yeah, this is so nice to do it. If they want only to develop their own products and to control them with, I don't know, using patents or other kind of intellectual property tools, I don't think this is the fair way to do things. So it depends on what kind of agreement you have and what kind of project they have, because we can imagine, I don't know, a company which really wants to help students or seniors to have a better life, and in order for this they need data. If they want to provide this kind of products for free, or not for free, in a very easy way for students or children or seniors, yes. But you can rely on me on this kind of of problems, of issues, if you want to.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Any questions? Now, okay, so I have a question from George Albert Costa, who is my colleague, my PhD colleague at UNATC. In the working plan of the European Commission of the Creative Europe Program 2020, there was a call for tenders, 2 million euros, targeted for the mobility of the performing arts. What is the status of this call for tenders? And can we expect that performing arts will not have a sectorial strand in the next program, although European platforms in performing arts like ETC made an advocacy work to obtain such a sectorial strand? Thank you. My question is for Bianca Floara.
Yes, 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm trying to find the exact name of the call. Yes, there was a call this year. If you bear with me just a few more seconds, I will give you the name. Okay, it's called, yes, there was a platform for distribution.
George shared the link.
Shared the link. Yeah, just to make sure that I'm speaking about the, the same thing.
Page not found.
Can I mean, I assume he's talking about the cross-border circulation and digital promotion of performing arts, which was launched in June, maybe. Yes, there were two pilot actions in a way, which were open for performing arts and theater in the work plan, and they were launched. But I'm not aware about. I don't think we have the results yet. But they happened, so they were launched, and we are waiting for the results. If they were already published, I don't think I saw that. And about the second, let me read again. Yeah, so about the the sectoral actions. So for the moment, that's the only information that we have. That there are these three sectors: music, book and publishing, and cultural heritage and architecture. But I think there's a there is openness in the other sector part, in the sense that, of course, performing arts are very, very well developed, and as you could see, very many projects from this field are selected at European level. So I think there is a dialogue with them will be shaped even more. But I cannot tell you at the moment if there will be a very specific sectoral strength just for performing arts or for theater. But I know that the sector is very well developed, and I think there is space for negotiation in this direction. Let me see. Did you share another link in the meanwhile?
It's
No.
a different thing. It's a different.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Now I will ask Professor Johannes Biringer to ask his question. Professor Biringer came to Romania actually to our symposium last year at the end of Teleencounters, and we were very happy about that. Johannes?
Yes, good afternoon to everyone. Can you hear my voice? I hope so.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the presentations. I would love to see the opening robot video again if you play it, but I had a small comment in my mind listening to your plans for what Bianca, I think, has also mentioned as a cross-border mobility project using telematics and now also using robots and machine aesthetics. If you don't mind me saying so, my experience in March, April was a shock. Traveling from London to Germany, all the borders were back up during the lockdown, and being in the countryside, I quickly got tired and exhausted by Zoom sessions, and I felt I was in a better mental and physical health space being outside in the countryside, in the local field, so to speak, where I would sometimes see other people. So my question is also to the wonderful little film we saw from Radu, community performance. Why do we imagine robots and machine intelligence to be a necessary part of our health?
Mute. Okay. So this is the different link, because the link that was shared before was by Industria Scenica, and this one is from Radu. Well, I think robots will become a part of our society in the future. And I personally look at them as a potential way of having a better life, as long as we make them ethical enough. So speaking of how robots could improve our lives, I think that's a question that we can influence, maybe. And maybe these cultural projects that could be developed together with the local community could actually influence the course of the evolution of these technologies. At least that's my hope. Did I answer your question?
Thank you. I guess it's more, I was just reflecting on what I experienced physically and mentally in the last few months. Yeah? And so my question was really also to myself. I lost all interest in technology, and I think I'm really now becoming more interested in reinventing a form of community performance actions or theaters that are happening on a very, very local level and also in the outdoors. So I wasn't really imagining myself walking in the valley with a robot.
What you mean. Yes, but at the same time, technology has helped us stay connected during this period and continue our lives in one way or another. So it was a life-saving thing. Even if we got bored with technology, at least to me, that was life-saving to be able to keep in touch with everyone and still do work remotely. But I totally understand your point of view that too much is too much from one point onwards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johannes. Anyone else? Do you have any questions? No further questions. Maybe our partners would like to comment on what Johannes said, or any of the speakers really, because Industria Scenica and Replica Center are involved in community work. What do you think about the involvement of technology?
Can I go? Okay.
Yes.
We think, as far as we are concerned, I think it's not a matter of or technology or not technology. I think that the future will, the near future will be to live with both systems. So for what concerns Industria Scenica, we work with the both sides of the question. So we work a lot in schools with the technology, the new technology. We are partners from Università Cattolica di Milano on the project about digital citizenship. We do peer education regarding cyberbullying and other transgressive behaviors. We work about Internet of the future and the Internet of Things and so on. But at the same time, our daily lives with the space we have, with the cultural center we have, regards people, analogic people, not robotics, normal relationships. We work a lot in the markets, and we work a lot in the parks, and we do lots of performances outdoors. In this period, in this time in Italy, it's forbidden to dance because of the COVID. And we have a dance hall. Our cultural center is also a dance hall, so we can not have people inside to dance. So we decided to dance outside. We acknowledged, I don't know how to say it in English. It's a kind of very small car, and we put a band on the top of it, and we cross the city, dancing and singing like in a past. So at the same time, we are doing a digital street art graffiti. So nowadays we think, and I think it's our responsibility as a cultural agency to propose to the different audiences we have different kinds of situation, because it's not to me who to choose which thing is better or which thing is the right thing. We really believe that our communities and our people can choose what is better for themselves. So for some people, for young people maybe, connection and robotic and all these kind of proposals are very important. Maybe for the people that come to Everest to dance every Saturday night, it's not so important because they need real relationship or in-person relationships. But I think we have the responsibility to propose them different kinds of performances. So I think it's not a personal question, what do I prefer as ISNABA, but what we can propose to discuss to our publics, has a discussion, has research.
Thank you very much, Isnaba. Indeed, yes, it's a question of what the audience also would like to say. Johannes comments that my students in London, some of them do not even have network access or cyber mobility to study theater in a Zoom room. Not that it is really easy to make theater remotely. I understand the potential. My question was regarding mental health, communal health. Also, maybe Philip would like to comment on that. Philip Parr is a theater director and he has written a very interesting comment. He's also working with communities. Parabola is his company, doing community work. So he says, fascinating questions around performance and community. Thank you. I suspect it will be several generations further on before robots will have the humanity to be performers, but technology may or will become more and more an on-stage partner. People will always be at the heart of things. Would anyone like to comment on what Johannes or Philip have just written about mental health, communal health, and the involvement of the community in the creative process?
Well, I can say something about it. First thing is, I'm not an expert of mental health, so I really cannot say how much impact this can have regarding mental health, because I'm a performer and I have a cultural center and I'm a project manager. So I have to admit that it's not my area. The thing that I can comment is that how can I say it? I think we really have, for our concerns telling encounters, we really have to focus on the theme of the immigration. We are not working and we are not doing research on the mental health impact, and we can discuss it about that maybe in another project. We are researching about the impact that technology has in the relationships in people that with an issue regarding immigration. And I'm an immigrant myself. I'm a Portuguese person living in Italy, and my family is living all around the world, from China to Africa and Portugal and Sweden and Austria. And with COVID or without COVID, the only way I have to be in contact with my family is through technology, 20 years from now. So I don't, besides the argument, the issue that the project brings to us, I have a personal interest in this project, I can say. So, and I think I don't have any mental problem now. 20 years, I'm living in Italy. I came here in 2003. So it's from 2003 that I'm using technology to be in contact with my father, for example. And I think I don't develop any mental health until now. Maybe I will in the future, I don't know. So I don't know how much we can discuss about the impact for our concerns this. On the other side, I think, in fact, it's a problem that not everyone get connected and not everyone has access to internet. And we suffered from that also. We work a lot with schools, and it was very, very difficult to work with schools and a lot of students during the COVID lockdown. Exactly because of that, because lots of students don't have connection, and also lots of teachers don't know how to use technology. That's another problem, skills problem. So, but the thing is, I think these contents, these issues are very interesting, and we can discuss it, but the focus of this project is about the impact of technology in the relationships that are concerned by immigration. And so I think this is the focus. I don't know if I answered to someone, but this is a comment.
Thank you. So Johannes answered via chat: with mental health challenges, I mean the current lockdowns, my first year students, all international students, are not allowed into the theater studios. All teaching has moved online. My students are distraught. They also wonder about their future in the profession. We have some tutors really with us. Mihaela Mihailov and Radu Apostol are also professors at the National University of Theatre and Film. How was this time for you? How do you see it? Yes.
So for us, it was pretty difficult. For me, I'm talking for myself right now. I had the students in the final year who study directing, and 80% of them, I mean 4 out of 6, were forced to get their diploma online, and we had to discover the Zoom on all the platforms, the platforms that were available as we were told long before, but we discovered them only in March. I don't know if it's good or bad. I may add just one thing. Sometimes for all of us in the group, in the class, it was somehow, I don't know, more friendly to be on Zoom, and it was more productive somehow, because everybody was in her or his own environment, feeling free to do whatever, but still being attentive to what the topic that we analyzed and we worked on. But in the future, I don't know. I think right now it's there is too much content on internet, and it's pretty difficult for smaller companies to make their voice heard, because yeah, it's quite, I think there's so many products, too much content on internet. I don't know, Mihaela, please, sorry.
Yes, for me, I guess it was a little bit easier because I'm teaching mostly theoretical classes, so it was easier. But I think my opinion regarding this period and regarding theater field and performing arts is that we tend to how to say, to be very disappointed, let's say, that we are not doing theater as we knew to do it, as we did it before. And I think it's a time also for us to take this challenge a little bit more seriously and to try to see how we can extend our languages and our theatrical means and strategies, and to try to reinvent the more and to be more open to different kind of discourses and interactions between all these discourses. And I think also for students it might be a period and a time when they could reflect a little bit what they could do with the means they have, and what they could, how they could improve them, how they could recreate, let's say, a more social or a more political landscape of expression.
Thank you. Now, Isnava, did you want to add something to this discussion, or shall I?
Yes, just a very small thing, and I really agree with the replicas. Hello, thank you. So I would just like to say that I think the problem now for what concerns art and technology is a quality question also, because during the lockdown, I don't know how it was in your countries, but here in Italy, all the companies and all the artists decided to go on streaming, to put everything online, to share all the contents, and quality was quite a problem. So I think the question will be not only the access, but also the quality of the products and the performances people would do regarding technology or with technology.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, we can use technology just for spectacular reasons, or we can use it to investigate our relationship to technology in our everyday lives. And in a way, that's what we're trying to do with this project. So we have a question from Bianca Flora. For the Teleencounters and the Replica Center teams, what attracted your organizations to working with other organizations in Europe? What from what you could do better was achieved in a better way at European level? So what needs European networking and cooperation from your activities? Replica, would you like to take that? Microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us? Okay, I can answer to Bianca's question because
okay.
In our case, as we are an international university, and you know us, Marina is the second successful project that we are operating with you. In our case, we are open a new branch of internationalization for the university because we were, as most universities, mainly focused on Erasmus Plus program for formal education or non-formal education, or Horizon 2020 for research. And this is the second round that we are involved in not only one but two different Creative Europe projects, successful both of them, the Teleencounters and the Refresh Plus, both of them coordinated by Professor Sarabia. So in our case, we are answering the needs of our students about what is the real culture in the real cultural reality in the rest of Europe, because we are involving the students directly in the activities of the projects. The projects are not only implemented by the professors of the university, but they involve directly the students in the implementation of the planet activities in the Creative Europe projects.
Thank you, Andres. Isnaba, do you want to add something, or did you just forget the hand? You just forgot the hand?
I forgot the hand, but...
okay. Johannes, did you just forget the hand, or would you like to
But I don't know how to do it.
Okay, good. So I would just want to add about the international dimension and why that is needed. Apart from the experience exchange, which I think is very important on all levels, managerial, artistic, audience engagement strategies, which differ from country to country. I think it's also the question of the product that we're doing. Like the Telematic performance actually achieves its full potential when it connects international audiences and actors. So the actors and the audiences will be connected via the internet, but we won't give up the physical dimension of the performance because they will be in the same space as the actors in Romania and in Italy, but they will see what the other side is doing as well. So I think such a product can only be achieved as part of a cooperation project, really. The international dimension is essential for the product to exist. So I think we are a bit over the time limit, but if there are any questions, we can take one more. So please announce yourselves if you want to ask anything. I think not. Okay. Thank you all very much for taking part in our session. We thank our partners, we thank the speakers for being here, we thank all the participants. I think this was a productive discussion. Don't forget to check the other IETM locations and the online program created by the network, because it's full of interesting things. Tomorrow we are going to present an online performance from Buzău at 6 p.m. Central European Time. A Generation 200, you can still register. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful IETM meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina.
Goodbye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.